Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, since there's a new set out, there is a new FAQ, and the lovely folks over at Pokegym.net have gone and brought us this FAQ. That is to say, a bunch of frequently asked questions, a bunch of official rulings that you need to know in order to fully understand some of the cards in a Sword and Shield expansion. To be 100% clear, these are official rulings. Just because they're posted on Pokegym does not make them not official rulings. These are actual official rulings that we all need to be following. So let's start off with one of the very best cards in the Sword and Shield expansion, Cinccino's Make Do ability. Now, Cinccino's Make Do ability looks incredibly familiar. It lets you discard a card from your hand and then draw 2 cards once per turn. It is the exact same ability that Zoroark used to have, which means that these rulings should look a bit familiar. For Cinccino's Make Do ability, can I use it when discarding a card as part of some action or effect? So let's say I'm using Quick Ball. Quick Ball says that I can discard a card from my hand and then search my deck for a basic Pokemon and put it in my hand. Since I'm discarding an energy, can I use that discard as a discard for Cinccino's ability? No. Discarding a card from your hand is the cost of using the ability. You cannot use a discard done from somewhere else. Well, can you use Cinccino's ability to discard a card and then say play Cynthia to shuffle my hand into my deck and draw 6 cards, and then draw the 2 cards from Cinccino? Now this would be really good, because rather than drawing 2 cards now and then playing a Cynthia, so let's say I've only got a Cynthia in my hand after I draw from Cinccino, rather than having 2 cards plus Cynthia, I play the Cynthia and then I've got 8 cards in hand. If I'm looking for a rare candy in a stage 2, I'm far more likely to find it. It's not how it works. You have to do the discard and then draw 2 immediately. You must perform all the actions of the ability before moving on to other game actions. Alright, but what if there's no cards left in my deck? What if all I want to do is just discard a card and not draw any? Let's say, for argument's sake, I've got a Metal Saucer in my hand, but I don't have any metal energy in the discard. So what I really want to do is use Cinccino to discard a metal energy from my hand so that I can accelerate it and win the game before I deck out. Nope. You cannot use Make Do if there aren't any cards left in your deck. You can use it if there is 1 card left in your deck, that's fine. But it's got to be at least 1 card, otherwise you cannot draw. And if you cannot draw, you cannot use the ability. There we go. More Poison. This is Toxicroak's new ability that says that you may put, or that you do put, 2 extra damage counters on your opponent's poisoned Pokemon between turns. Just to confirm, it is a you do, not a you may. It is a thing that you have to do. If I've got 2 Toxicroak in play with the ability, will my opponent put 4 more damage counters on their poisoned Pokemon? Yes. The ability says put 2 more, not instead of. Now, the card that we can use to really show this is the old Magnezone, the Plasma one that came around in Plasma Storm. That says, during your turn you may play 2 supporter cards. So it doesn't matter how many Magnezone you've got in play, you may play 2 supporter cards. If Toxicroak had said put 3 damage counters on, then you would have just put 2 extra, it wouldn't have stacked. But because it says 2 more, you always put 2 more. If there's 4 Toxicroak, you put 8 more. And what about Untamed Shout? This is the ability from the annoyingly named Galarian Obstagoon. It's just Obstagoon in the game. It should just be Obstagoon in the card game. I digress. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Well, what happens if you use Rare Candy? Because you're not using it to just evolve normally, you're cheating, you're going from the basic right up to the stage 2. Do you still get to use the ability and drop 3 damage counters, even though you're evolving straight from a basic to a stage 1? And the answer is yes, you absolutely do. And again, it's all in the wording. Galarian Obstagoon says, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon. Even though you're playing Rare Candy, you're still playing it from your hand. To use a fairly old example, the Spiritomb from Arceus let you search your deck for a Pokemon and evolve one of your bench Pokemon. That would be evolving from the deck, so in that situation, you wouldn't get to use it. Moving on to attacks then, how about Cramorant V's Beak Catch? Lets you search your deck for any 2 cards and put them into your hand. So what if you just don't want to get any cards? Now, most of the time you'll want to get something, but let's say, let's say your opponent's got a Poltegeist out, and they're going to be doing more damage for each trainer card in your hand, and you've only got trainer cards left in your deck, so you really don't want to grab anything. Can you fail it? And the answer is only if there are no cards left in your deck. You see, the thing about Cramorant V is it lets you search for any cards, so even though the deck is private, we can see that you've got some cards left in your deck, so you must take at least one, if you're able to. If there's no cards in your deck, then yes, you can actually use this and get nothing, because there's nothing to get. If we compare this to something like Quick Ball lets you search for a basic Pokemon, but you might not have any basic Pokemon left in your deck, so you can just fail it. The best example for this, my favourite example, was an old card called Colress Machine. It let you search your deck for a Plasma Energy and attach it to one of your Pokemon. But it was a special energy, so we knew that you could only have a maximum 4 Plasma Energy in your deck. And if you played a Colress Machine, even if we knew that there were no Plasma Energy in deck, i.e. we could look at your discard pile and your board and see all 4 Plasma Energy, you could still play it because the deck was private and theoretically there could be a Plasma Energy in deck, even though we knew for an absolute fact there wasn't. There we go. Sandaconda. Sandaconda has got Coil. Coil does 10 damage and says, during your next turn, this Pokemon's attacks do 120 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So the question is, what happens if your opponent switches and they have a new active Pokemon? Because remember, when a Pokemon switches to the bench in the Pokemon TCG, we regard it as a new Pokemon when it comes active, even if it's actually the same Pokemon. Well, the ruling here is, again, we look at the wording of the card. It says your opponent's active Pokemon. Now, if it said the defending Pokemon goes to the bench, that essentially no longer exists. You don't do the extra. But Sandaconda just does more damage to the active Pokemon, so whoever the active is at the time, you do extra damage to them. MORPEKOV's Electro Wheel. Now, MORPEKOV, excellent card, very, very nice card. It does 150 damage, and you discard an energy attached to it, and it switches to the bench. What happens if you don't have any bench Pokemon? You do as much as you can. You still have to discard an energy from this Pokemon. Again, it is a discard an energy, not you may discard an energy. And then you go to switch it to the bench. There are no bench Pokemon, so you can't do anything. The damage is not dependent on switching to the bench. You do the damage, then discard an energy, then switch to the bench. If for whatever reason you're not allowed to do so, you don't switch to the bench. What about Grapploct? Now, Grapploct has got a quite unique and very weirdly phrased kind of attack. It's not the kind of thing we see all that often. The attack is Octolock. Until this Grapploct leaves the active spot, the defending Pokemon's attacks cost 2 more colourless energy, and the defending Pokemon cannot retreat. This effect can't be applied more than once. What does that mean? Well, it basically means that if you've used Octolock, and your opponent is under the guise of it, that means that they're having to pay 2 more and they can't retreat. You cannot use this attack again. It wouldn't do anything. Or to put it another way, it doesn't stack. You couldn't use this twice to make your opponent's attacks cost 4 more energy, as an example. Well, what if that Pokemon switches out and a new one comes in? Yes, of course. You cannot use it more than once on the same Pokemon, but like we've said, as soon as a new Pokemon comes in from the bench, even if you've switched out and brought the same Pokemon active, it's counted as a new Pokemon, therefore you can use it again. Now in terms of trainer cards, we just have one that we need to look at. It is a bit of the old Hyper Potion, and Hyper Potion came in this time with different wording to what it had last time we saw it. Heal 120 from one of your Pokemon that has at least 2 energy attached. If you healed any damage in this way, discard 2 energy from it. And it was phrased that way to stop you healing and going, oh, I've got no energy, guess I can't discard. Can I use Hyper Potion to heal a Pokemon with less than 120 damage? Or if I have less than 2 energy attached to it? No. You must have at least 10 damage to play the card. You cannot just use it to discard 2 energy attached to the Pokemon, which you might actually want to do. Something like Victini V does more damage for each energy you've got on you. So even though it would be a very niche use, there are times you would legitimately want to play this just to discard 2 energy, even if you're undamaged. It is not something you're allowed to do. And if you don't have at least 2 energy on, you can't use it. It's far more often that you would want to do the healing even though you don't have the energy. No, that would be naughty. You're not allowed to do so. Now in terms of Aurora energy, we've got a note here. Aurora energy basically says you can attach this to one of your Pokemon only if you discard another card from your hand. As long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides every type of energy, but provides only 1 energy at a time. You only have to discard if you attach it from your hand. Now this is very important because it doesn't actually say that on the card. If you attach it from anywhere else, you don't have to discard the card from your hand, but this is one of the very rare instances where reading the card doesn't get you there. It reads, you can attach this card to one of your Pokemon only if you discard another card from your hand. To be perfectly clear, if you attach it from the discard, for instance, that's fine. Now, I cannot find at the moment, and let me know in the comment section if you can, an example of a Pokemon in the standard format right now that lets you attach an energy card from your discard pile to a Pokemon, i.e. any energy including special. But we have had a bunch in the past. The Vikavolt GX from Guardians Rising had an attack that let you attach an energy card. Remember, when it says basic energy, it means basic. When it says energy card, it means anything. So you would be able to use Vikavolt GX to do it. The Probopass from Guardians Rising similarly does allow you to attach a special energy using its attack. The Mewtwo EX that came around in Evolutions would allow you to do that. The Garchomp from Breakpoint was the one I always remembered because that did let you recover a strong energy and attach it from the discard, which was a big deal at the time. The point that I'm making here is, although we might not have any Pokemon where this is terribly relevant right this second, I assure you we've had them in the past, we will probably have them again in the future, and Aurora Energy does not make you discard. This is, for my money at least, the most important ruling on here, because it's the one that I was not 100% about. And finally, can you use Frostmoth's Ice Dance ability to attach Aurora Energy? No. Frostmoth allows you to attach as much water energy from your hand to your bench water Pokemon as you like, but it only lets you attach water energy. And although Aurora Energy is a water energy when it is attached to a Pokemon, until it is attached, it doesn't count as a water energy. It is essentially kind of nothing. So for that reason, you cannot attach it with Frostmoth because it doesn't count. Simple as that. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out once again to the lovely folks over at Pokegym for giving us these rulings and making things a little bit clearer. Hopefully I've made things clearer in this video and used examples and all of that good stuff, but if there's anything left unclear from this video, pop it down in the comment section and myself or somebody else will do our very best to try and answer it for you. For now, I'd like to know what you think about these. I'd like to know your opinions of them. I'd like to know, well, I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/TheWassy. patreon.com/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have any Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darned awesome nonetheless. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.